Hi there, it's Kamilah Rose, and just checking in very quickly. Today we have Mars entering into Cancer. Now, Mars is in its fall in Cancer. It's not comfortable there. It does not like being there. It much prefers to be in its original sign of Aries, or over there in Scorpio doing its thing. It's wanting to bring us life. It's wanting to put us into these spaces where we feel like this is the reason that I'm supposed to be here. This is what I'm fighting for. This is what my purpose is. In Cancer, it's a little bit just like we have Cancer, who's cardinal water. So it's the first time we've really gotten in touch with our emotions in the Western zodiac. And then we have Cancer, who's like the womb of creation in like the material space within our emotional space, right? So the creation of these emotions and the things that make us feel, and like how we allow our feelings to impact what it is that we do, what it is that we create, all of those things that we like bring from a like external world of or more of an internal world of non-material into the external world of the material, right? And so Mars is like not super comfortable here. It is not wanting to be in this space. It would much prefer something tangible that it can touch. It would much prefer like the outcome of the emotions and what they help us create than the actual like space of the feelings about things. And so when Mars is in Cancer, we may find ourselves suppressing our emotions. We may find ourselves with a shorter temper than what we're used to because we're just trying to get to that space of like the next step. Mars is trying to get us to that next step. It's trying to push us past that like womb space and into Leo, where it can feel a lot more comfortable in a fellow fire sign and be like, okay, see, look at me now. Look at me. Look at what I'm doing. Look at what I created. Look at what I'm like making happen, as opposed to like the digging into the emotional space of creation. Now, we have about a month. October 4th, that is when Mars is going to enter into the shadow period of its retrograde. We have a Mars retrograde that's going to be coming up on December 6th. And so on October 4th, it's going to be at 17 degrees of Cancer. And that is when it's going to be at the like furthest point for when it will retrograde back after it enters its retrograde season. What this means is that from October 4th all the way to December 17th, you're going to want to be very mindful of what's going on. No, it's December 6th because it's 6 degrees of Leo on December 6th. So it's October 4th through December 6th. So if you have that 17 degrees of Cancer, you're going to, or anything like 5 degrees below, I would give it like a 5 to 6 degree orb. So like 11 degrees Cancer all the way up to what will be 6 degrees Leo, so 12 degrees Leo. I would be mindful of the things that happen from October to December, because Mars is going to be moving through there, then it's going to retrograde back, and then it like in May, it's going to move right back through those signs all over again as it finally progresses and moves on. So that means that like you're kind of getting a little bit of a double whammy there. Okay, so like I mentioned, if you have that 17 degrees Cancer all the way going up to that 6 degrees of Leo, the thing that you're going to want to be looking at, and then the orbs on the outside of that 11 degrees Cancer up to 12 degrees Leo, the thing that you want to be paying attention to is like what's happening during this time. The people that are maybe frustrating you, the projects that are not getting up off the ground. You'll want to see what house this is happening for you in, and then it's going to mean that we're going to be looking at all the cardinal signs, because that means that Aries and Libra, if you have anything at that degree, you're going to be experiencing squares, which means it's going to be frustrating. For the Aries, you're going to definitely want to be feeling like you're going to be feeling really aggressive, because you're going to want to move. You're going to want to see things happening, and it just might be taking a lot more time and effort. It might need a more like delicate, emotional view or touch than what you're really wanting. You're just wanting action to happen, and you might be pushing those feelings down because it might feel overwhelming. Like you're drowning in the feelings when you just want to move. But think of it as like the lava or the magma bursting out through the ocean floor. Like that can be the amount of creation that can happen, but only if you allow yourself to like sit in the uncomfortableness and like let the material things outside of you move. Like the earth stuff has to move first. So it has to kind of like go in its own system. It's like Wheel of Fortune in Tarot, right? Libras, you're going to also be feeling that frustration, and it's just not going to be helpful because like Mars doesn't like being in Libra either. So like all in all, it's just going to be feeling like kind of frustrated frustrating for you. But again, if you allow yourself to like let things happen as they need to, one, stop avoiding your feelings, like feel the things in your body. Embodiment practices will be super important during this time. Yoga, dance, like anything that allows you to be in your body and like feel the things, and then like have a space to emotionally deal with the stuff that's coming up for you will be super important for you. And then like do the journaling part. That'll be really good. Have the conversations, get your therapist and stuff for the Libras. For the Capricorns, this is going to be an opposition. So like in one sense, I think it will be very helpful because it is going to bring up those things that have been frustrating you. And it's going to be like really saying that like for those plans, for those systems, for those like goals that you have set, and the way that it makes you feel about being able to like have that sense of stability for yourself and for others. Like you use that stability, you use your ability to be able to create wealth, to be able to create like a sense of purpose and of structure to provide protection for others around you. And like what happens when that moves really slowly, when it just takes a lot of time and energy and effort, and everyone wants to tell you how they feel about the things that you've been doing. Like working through that and that space and those emotions will be really important for you during this time. So like we have that energy going on, and then we have for it's in Cancer, so that means that we'll have some trines to the waters, which will be helpful but like frustrating. So the Pisces folks will be experiencing that like feeling of, okay, like this is bigger. So you might be transmuting really big emotions. You might be transmuting like especially like really big goals and really big passions, really big desires. And then the Scorpios folks, like you might really just like be spending a lot of time by yourself, but you'll also be like in a space where you can do a lot of really significant transformation, because Mars will be digging through ethereal space of creation within us, within our psyches, so that it can actually start get that stuff out, get those feelings that we have pushed down out and expressed in some way, shape, or form. And that might be really good for Scorpios who have been like holding on to things and having a really difficult time letting go. For any of the signs that I haven't mentioned, you'll probably get hit up because it will be going into Mars retrograde, will be going into Leo. And so it will hit up the rest of the fire signs, Sagittarius, and Aries, which is already getting some of that energy. And then that will also like impact some of the other like fixed signs with that square energy and that oppositional. Probably everybody will feel a little bit of something, but it's going to be the Venus inferior conjunction when it's in retrograde. It is very concentrated energy. So speaking of the Venus retrograde, this energy that will be happening, at least the Leo energy and then some of the Cancer, well, all of the Cancer energy is going to be like the Venus superior conjunction that just happened when Venus moved through all of the signs, but also when Venus was in retrograde in 2023, where it was a little bit further up in Leo, but obviously it retrograded back through some of Leo. So we're coming back to some of those themes around the feelings that we had about what happened when we tried to get back to this understanding of who we were and how we express ourselves, and then how Venus and Mars do this dance together, right? And I've talked about how in February we had the Venus-Mars conjunction in the sign of Aquarius. And so this was all about that like oppositional energy to what we're going to be coming up against with the Mars and Leo, and then the Mars and Leo retrograde, and then the Venus and Leo retrograde that happened in 2023, summer 2023, is that push to move to this individuality, to this understanding of individuation, to understand who we are and how we express ourselves, how that is engaged with other people, how we stand up and protect, and that we advocate for ourselves, how we allow ourselves to be seen and heard, and what that looks like when we allow ourselves to tap into what our gifts are, what our talents are, who we are as a person, and then bringing those back to the community. It is difficult for us to understand what our talents are, how we shine, how we are seen, when we are pushing those things down, or when we are self-sacrificing them in order to let others shine, or when we are so busy trying to be seen and take up the stage that it makes it so that we are unable to understand what the needs of our community are. And so those energies have been really trying to be prominent in understanding that in order for us to have true community, in order for us to truly be seen, we have to create the space and have the environment where that's a possibility. And that's been kind of the story that's been been going on in this individuation process of integrating this Mars in Leo, Mars in Cancer energy, this Venus in Leo energy. And as they continue upon their path, as they move through these different signs, as they go through this dance back and forth. And so like right now, when you're seeing this like Mars in Leo, when you're seeing Mars in Cancer, and this understanding of suppressing our emotions, pushing them down, going for anger, and boiling over with emotions because we're so frustrated with the situation, that the thing that we need is always in the other sign. It's in Capricorn. It's in creating a plan, having a system of support, having an understanding we have to have some form of something larger than ourselves in order to keep things in order. It is the Aquarius energy of having hope for the future, being innovative, taking a revolutionary stance, but understanding our talents have to be able to be brought back to the table with everyone else. It is this, as we move through this process, these are the things that we need to be working through. And also this anger that we may feel towards our mothers, towards ourselves as mothers, as creators of things. So not the feminine, but we all create things. We all take things from this space. We have a feeling about something and it pushes us to want to take an action, to have a thought, to want to try to fix, to want to try to improve, to want to try to make something new. And we take those emotions and we use that to manifest, to do things external to ourselves out in the world, that Capricorn Cancer axis. And then we get to this place where now we want to be seen, or we literally have children. It is the birthing of the thing that we have desired emotionally to create. We see this thing come out, expressed through ourselves or expressed as literal children in the sign of Leo. This energy of what's going on with the emotions around creation and birthing, and how is that playing out once it is out in the material world and we are expressing that thing, we're expressing that creativity where we've had the child. What is happening there and how do we integrate that? I'll talk about archetypes next. So when we're looking at archetypes, I would definitely recommend some inner child healing. I would recommend doing some inner healing with the inner warrior, the inner mother, the inner creator. All of that energy would be really important to work with. I would definitely do some work with like all of the archetypes, honestly, because that Capricorn energy is going to bring up some things that have to do with fatherhood, the masculine, and then moving into, so Saturn as father, Saturn as the creator, but Saturn also as the elder. Perhaps you need some inner wisdom in order to help you to be able to create these systems and to create this legacy piece. And then the inner child would be showing up in Leo, with the Venus in Leo from 2023, with the Cancer in Leo in 2024, moving into 2025. This energy is very prominent. And if you haven't done that inner child healing to understand what's been created from these spaces, from your relationship with your mother, from your relationship with your father, from your relationship with the institutions around you that have created these emotions, these systems, these cycles. That is the thing to start to delve into and to understand, because that is going to get held up. One, it's going to dim your shine. It's going to decrease your inner fire, which is one of the things I've been focusing on, is helping people get back in touch and bring their inner fire back out into the world, because that's what helps us to be able to live. That is the fire of Mars. And when it is pushed down beneath these waves and it's unable to break through the crust of the earth, Capricorn, Saturn, fatherly energy, this energy of having to bust out and free ourselves from that. And then we're drowning in the waves of the waters of the mother or feminine energy of Cancer on top of these two things together. But it takes that fire, it takes that breaking out. That's that Mars in Cancer in opposition to Capricorn. What we actually see come for that with Leo needing to go our own way and do an assessment in Virgo to see what we created is actually something we need to be keeping before we hit the scales and then before we go back into the underworld with Scorpio. That's what I would be focusing on, and I would be figuring out what's really coming up for you the most. Is it something related to the inner child? Is it something related to allowing your light to shine? Is it something related to feeling held down or suppressed by the mother? The High Priestess is a great one to look at for this energy for the Mars retrograde in Cancer. I would look at that High Priestess because she is usually a little emotionally cold. She can be suppressing her emotions in order to be more in tune with her intuition. A really good one for that. We also have the Chariot, which is just the Cancer card, more of that Knight of Cups energy of rushing through and not necessarily thinking things out. You could be highly critical, highly overthinking, highly logical with that High Priestess. Is it more of that Capricorn energy? So that Hermit energy, or perhaps that the Devil card energy of leaning into temptations, feeling trapped underneath, the weight of the systems that are keeping you in the place and making you hold on to these stereotypes of these gender and sex and class and race roles that we've, kind of all fed into those social definitions over time. All of those things kind of popping up, and they're going to be different for every single person. And then we get to that Leo energy with what have we birthed? What have we created? How have we expressed ourselves coming from these situations?